Lucid Motors just reported their Q4 and full year 2021 results. It's down 13% after hours after it had to cut the forecast not only in production but also in the number of deliveries that they're going to be able to make. They made $26 million in the current quarter. You're talking about a company that's worth $47 billion. I think there will be more pain to come in the Lucid share price before we see a pretty big gain. This is a stock I played all the way back when it was still Churchill Capital Corporation. I'll put a screenshot up somewhere here. And I played this. I made over 150% return on this investment. That was one of my best investments that I made. I got out of it at around $56 a share. And I'm still looking at a nice price point to get into Lucid again because I do believe in the long-term vision. If you're looking at something like a Tesla approaching a 1 trillion market cap, I think there's a huge possibility that Lucid should at least be up there with, Rivian and the likes, especially if Lucid is able to increase their production. But again, being able to increase production is one thing, but actually doing it is another. They do have some fantastic players, like their CEO and people that they poached from not only Tesla but Apple. And there's also even talks of like a partnership between Apple and Lucid that hasn't really come into play yet. But let's just take a look at their major results here. So customer reservation now exceeds 25,000. This was up from 17,000 that they previously stated in the Q3 of 2021, reflecting potential sales of more than 2.4 billion. However, they said that updating 2022 production outlook for Lucid Air to a range of 12 to 14,000 vehicles, so that reflects sales of about, if you divide this in half, because 2012, let's say it's 12,500, that's half of 25,000, that's potential sales of 1.2 billion. Again, that's a price to sales ratio. We're looking at a 47 billion, probably like a 43 billion company after the cut in their market cap after this after hours drop of about 43 billion. That's still a price to sales ratio of like 40 or something like that. So that's ridiculously huge. Price to sales ratio. I think in this environment, especially with the increase in rate hikes coming soon, they're going to get absolutely slaughtered. So I would stay away from this stock. That's just my personal opinion right now. I do believe in this company for the long-term future, but I believe we can get this stock in maybe the mid to high teens, and that's where I'm looking at potentially pulling the trigger. That's my price target. Anyways, they won 2022 Mortar Trend Car of the Year. By the way, the Lucid Air has a higher range than the Tesla. It's the highest range EV out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did some research on this. They sold out the Dream Edition. That's just like, that's amazing. Production exceeds 400 vehicles as of February 28 with 125 customer deliveries. I believe they were in over 300 deliveries to date. So updating 2022 production outlook, that's what I already said. Now, this is significantly down. This is also why the stock price is down. It went from about 20,000 to 12 to 14,000 vehicles for 2022, all because they're citing supply chain issues. And this is why the stock is being hit pretty damn hard. And so when you say you're going to produce 20,000, but then you actually update that to 12,000, that's obviously going to hurt. Select to the NASDAQ 100 index in December, issued $2 billion in green convertible bonds and bolstered balance sheet to over $6.2 billion in cash on hand. And there's also update on their Arizona manufacturing facility, and they announced a new manufacturing facility in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They also have large backers in the Middle East. If you already didn't know that, that's one thing to keep in mind. They have pretty big backers. The Saudi royal family is what I hear. And they also have some very exciting potential new vehicles, such as their SUV right here. This is the Project Gravity SUV, and it's supposed to be super, super sick. There's a lot of hype in this. So there's a lot of potential things to come for Lucid. But for right now, we have to think about, in this current environment, what's the stock price going to do? And I think in this current environment, the stock price is either going to flatline or decrease tremendously, especially with the tensions rising high. I mean, this is a luxury EV maker. So, sure, it's going to have a market, and it's also looking at producing a car that's not only going to benefit the top echelon of society, but also production for the masses. But EVs, even that's what Tesla's trying to do. It's still a pretty expensive price tag. But I like how Lucid is also focused on the higher margin luxury EV, because that's, again, like I said, that's what gets higher margins. But anyways, if we're looking at their just a few things here that we want to talk about on their balance sheet. So current assets 6.2 billion. So they have plenty of time. I believe they're losing about 2 billion per year. So if they're going at this burn rate, assuming that they obviously don't have any revenue, but of course they're going to get revenue hopefully significantly in 2021, they'll have enough money to last maybe 3 years. But I mean, I think that's more than enough time. The other factor that I see is potentially issuing more shares, which dilutes shareholder value, and the stock price basically goes down. So that's what I can see. Especially this is a startup company; they're losing lots of money. A company of worth 47 billion making only 27 million in the quarter. Not a lot. Anyways, so they have a lot of cash and cash equivalents, which is what I like. But if you look at the current liabilities, I mean, obviously there's not a lot of liabilities going right there, just because they gained a massive amount of money just by going through with the SPAC merger. We can see revenue right here, 26 million. For the full 2021, it was 27 million compared to 2020, 3.6 million. So obviously this is a huge increase, but again, you'd expect more from a company that's like 47 billion. But of course, this is just startup, so you can't really look at this. And you look at all the cost of revenue, loss from operations was about $500,000 in the current quarter in Q4 2021. So again, you multiply that by 4. That's about, because there's 4 quarters in a year, $2.5 billion burn rate for the year. And I mean, of course, they have enough to weather the storm. They could always do things like issue more shares. But yeah, again, net loss for 2021, $2.5 billion. Huge net loss, but hopefully they'll start to make that up with the $1.2 billion in cars that they're going to hopefully sell for 2022. But again, a lot of, chips are hard to come by. It takes a while to ship something from anywhere, honestly. The cargo freight rates are like going way up. Even oil tanker rates, what I just talked about in my previous video, are going way up. So, it's a pretty concerning environment. Interest rates are going up. So, I mean, let's just take a quick look at the Lucid stock price. Let's just go to the chart, full screen this bad boy, and let's see what's happening. So the current price after hours is about 25 bucks. So we're seeing a 25 bucks is right around here. That's not even reaching the lower Bollinger Band. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to play the lower Bollinger Band. As we can see here, when this candle hit the lower Bollinger Band, it basically bounced right off of it. It doesn't always do that. Sometimes it rises the lower Bollinger Band, and that's why I like to get candles that are always outside the lower Bollinger Band, like this one right here, and then went from 27 bucks to 29 bucks. That would be a short-term swing play. But this, I think, will trigger a more long-term decline, and I'm thinking that we could, again, look at it from a much larger perspective. I think we could see the Lucid share price, at least in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe over the next year, reach around, I want to say $15 to $20. That I feel like that's a pretty reasonable estimate. And I mean, if you look at the history of Lucid, this is where I got in. It was around 18 bucks. Rode the wave all the way to $56, and then something similar happened. It came back down to 18 bucks. No one would thought it would come back down to 18 bucks, but like all SPACs, it kind of came down, and then again skyrocketed to like 60 bucks before coming back down. And I mean, again, if you're a pretty prudent trader, you could just rinse and repeat. But as of right now, I would wait, especially since, I mean, they just lower their production estimates and basically revenue guidance for 2022. So I'm thinking of getting in at around the $15 to $30 $15 to $20 mark for Lucid. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about this. I'd appreciate if you enjoy this video, if you subscribe to the channel, check out my other free content, and join the Discord group. It's a link in the description below, and if you want to support me financially as a grad student, I'd appreciate that. It's just my Patreon is also linked there, and you'll get access to my real-time buys and sells. But yeah, let me know what you think about Lucid. Love you all, and stay safe out there, especially with the tensions going on between Russia and Ukraine. But yeah, peace out.